Hello everybody, Accureye here, and welcome back to another Accureye Talks video. And in today's Talks video, I thought we'd talk about, a little bit about Apex Legends and just in general my thoughts after having a lot more time into it. And honestly, after 60 hours, I feel like personally I've done everything except for maybe just gotten to the point where, potentially I could do pro stuff for it. Because, honestly, I played this game for so long now that it feels like I've done pretty much everything. And in general, it's not really a bad game for say. But, the fact that it's kind of been really a little bit slow pace on the updates and kind of like they haven't really shown any real announcements of new legends or maybe even a new map. I feel that the game can kind of get a little stale after a while. Now, there's nothing wrong with the game. The map is good. I just feel like, personally, after doing so long of playing the game and just in general, having games that are, pretty much just bad in a way or in a sense, it's just like, there's not a bad thing about this game. This game is actually not bad. It's good for what it is. But, I feel that after like 60 hours of doing this, and the factor is that it just comes down to me having skill or maybe even having training and playing against pro players, I feel that, it just needs something to start changing it up. Now, obviously, they did add a new weapon called the Havoc recently, but, overall, that one new weapon doesn't really change the fact that the game is kind of at a point where, for me, I feel that, it's just like, it's just bad for what it is, and as I've said, there's not like a wrong thing or a bad thing about it. Like, it is what it is, honestly. And at the end of the day, that's pretty much what it is for say, and I have no problems with that to be honest. Like, in truth, the game and, like most VRs are going to probably stick around for a while. The only thing about it is that I just wish that, there was more to it in a sense, and more in a way that created a sense of like, oh, okay, it is, something that's overall improving, I guess you could say, over time. And, it has announcements and it has ways of, in a sense, keeping its player base, I guess you could say, which, obviously is something that doesn't always happen. Is, it is that there are too many games like PUBG, for instance, that haven't really kept its player base for quite some time. And, the reason it hasn't kept its player base is because of, it just hasn't been able to innovate like Fortnite or even like, Apex Legends to a degree. And, with that having been said, obviously there are times where I feel that the game just lacks a little in their progress, like, because as it is, obviously the game is built around a Rainbow Six kind of feel, or should I say Rainbow Six Siege kind of feel. And because it's built around a Rainbow Six Siege kind of feel, obviously there are legends that are being used. Surprisingly, they haven't put in like a recruit or someone who is fully customizable. I think, honestly, in a sense, having a recruit or someone who's fully customizable eventually would be a good idea, would be a good thing to add to the game. But sadly, as it is, there's not really a fully customizable character yet. So, I feel that, honestly, there's things that need to be added to the game. There are changes that need to be maybe considered to really keep things going, because at this point, I don't think that it's going to lose its player base. I think it's going to keep its player base all right, and I think, honestly, it's going to do okay for the most part. But I just feel that as far as it goes, I mean, let's face it. As far as it goes right now, it's definitely at a point where, for me, after 60 hours of gameplay and just kind of doing it nonstop, unless I have like a teammate or someone I can kind of play with all the time, for the most part, I feel that the game is kind of lacking its content. It's kind of lacking what it needs to, what it needs, what it has, for say, and honestly, I don't think that's going to deter the player base, nor is it going to make it to where, honestly, the players are going to, start dropping out. But I do think that, honestly, this, that little bit of what it is, the lack of content to me is something that, it's like if you feel like you've done everything, which in my case, I kind of have felt like that, then there's really no point, I guess you could say, to having the, well, I wouldn't say there's no point, but I feel like there's no real, reason to have anything other than maybe for pro purposes for me to do. Because, if I was doing it for tournaments and stuff, or in, a pro setting and pro scene, obviously, I would probably practice and take the time more often than less to actually practice and be, able to do what most people, can do, what most people, would like to do, in general, And with that being said and all, it's kind of a point of, I feel that it's just harder to, keep things exciting. But, again, these are just my thoughts about the game. I feel that Apex Legends is a good game. It's going to be standing around. It's just for me. The fact remains that unless there's some innovation, something that can, bring the game to life or keep the game alive, then by all means, obviously, of course, there's going to be a point for me to want to keep things going, But, like I said, those are just my thoughts. Those are just what I've been thinking about since, since after all of the practice, and all the little things that I've been experiencing in the game. And with that being said, thank you everybody for joining me on this video. I do apologize that it's a little shorter than most of my other videos, but thank you anyway for joining me on this video. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, get subscribed, hit the bell notification because I know you want to know when my next video drops next. Thank you everybody for joining me today on this video. Thank you for being here. I am live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Accureye. I am live on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday for about 4 to 5 hours. And I'm also live on Monday, Tuesday. I've been lately also live on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But, of course, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I am, of course, all, only Monday and Tuesday and potentially Sunday whenever I make a bonus stream. I'm only going to be live for about 2 to 3 hours. And with that being said, thank you everybody for joining me today on this video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out. And until the next one, everybody, this is Accureye signing out and saying farewell, everyone.